let me, as we enter here 15, 20 minutes of Q&A time, give the floor for a moment to my co-moderators, Manish and Yuncap, just for some of their summary statements. Manish,
Yes.
what have you heard this morning?
So first of all, thank you to all the panels, and certainly thank you to Tom and the team for putting this panel together. I think what we clearly see is an excitement and an opportunity that lies ahead of us. I think we've seen some wonderful examples of local success stories and global vision that allows us to frame what we need to do. I think the one big thing that comes out is how can CEs play a big role in this? And I would say, take it a step further. Healthcare is a team sport. It is not a single specialty, single domain endeavor. And I think in the future, we must bring in all the bright minds to begin to think about how we begin to look at solutions for local geographies, because we have a new set of tools, technologies that are available to us, but the solutions are going to come at the local level. So working together at the leadership level to ensure that we mobilize funding, we impact thought leadership and policy, and we actually begin to impact and empower frontline caregivers and health systems to use these new technologies and really impact lives in a meaningful manner. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. So I'm really grateful to see all the great work that's happening in South America, in Africa, and in India. So thank you to all for your leadership and the work that you're doing. But we have, as Robert Frost would say, we have miles to go before we sleep.
Thanks so much, Manish. Yuncap, hey, you've been around this space for a while. You didn't have that gray hair when I first knew you working on it. So
thanks, Tom. I mean, after Manish's summary, I have very little to add, because I share the excitement about these discussions. I also share a huge frustration, because we all, when we get together like this, and the discourse is very stimulating, it's very exciting, and raises hope that something further will happen. But in my experience, which you've alluded to, very little happens, particularly in comparison with the expectations. Now, so I have just one point to add to Manish's excellent summary of all the great presentations and lenses through which people have looked at telehealth and the COVID experience. What I'd like to add is to emphasize the one point that I made, which was probably lost in the many slides, which is knowledge sharing. Just picture for a moment, if each of us knew what everyone else listening to us now on this panel knows. Just imagine that. If I knew what everybody else on this panel knows, and everyone else on the panel knows what all of us know, it would be a very powerful way of solving the challenges that we face, not just in telehealth, because I firmly believe that somewhere on this planet, whatever challenges you're facing with health and bringing technology to bear on health, somewhere, someone else has faced something similar, maybe even found a solution, but they don't know about you, you don't know about them. So I really implore everyone to think about what the International Society for Telemedicine has been in some ways harping on for years, the idea of a global knowledge commons, even if it's a vertical in that space on telehealth alone, for us to be able to share that graphic that I presented, who is doing what, where, how well is it working, what can we learn from it, and what can we reuse from it. I'd like to be able to get Jitendra's experience on how they're resolving the regulatory issues where you can do teleconsultation, but you can't do teleprescription. The same issues arose in South Africa many years ago with the HPCSA, objecting to, to telemedicine in general. So there's so much that is happening, but we have no way or the ways we have of sharing these so that everybody can learn from everybody else are not being followed. So that's my huge disappointment, despite the excitement that I feel. Perhaps this is the moment when all of this will start falling together.
Well, UNCAP, I want to address that and then give Elliot and Jatinder a chance to respond also. So CED, we're not the end of the world, but we can't do everything, but we've seen this huge change with our knowledge network this in 2020. I tell the story that we were working after our program in Rome, our Congress in Rome last October with 80 countries, and now we're working with 170, sharing best practices, sharing our knowledge network with these 21 webinars across a variety of topics, half of them with WHO specifically this year addressing COVID issues. And so, but part of being, as we prepared the platform to be ready for COVID that we didn't know was coming, Brother Elliot here on the phone issued a grand challenge last October about, hey, telehealth is one of those technologies that's been out there a long time, but the ministries of health, with maybe the few exceptions like we heard in Paraguay and Mexico and some other places, have not implemented, even though the solutions were out there. And Elliot, would you address that? So we've made a big difference this year, and CED would love to work with your International Society of Telemedicine. Once again, and we can bring in other partners that, International Hospital Federation and others. So I still have a lot of hope, but I feel your frustration. Elliot?
First of all, I'll just acknowledge that UNCAP and I have worked together for 20 years on these topics and issues, and have met in the US and Geneva and elsewhere to speak to these and about these, and I think we have turned silver at about the same rate. I share all of the same frustrations, and many of the presenters who were excellent described some brilliant progress. I think Martin really touched the painful point that UNCAP and I know, which there have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pilot studies all over the planet, and hardly any of them have reached even a broad application or sustainability. We are in an era where telehealth has been deployed as a necessary measure, using Zoom like we're using now, using dozens of other disparate communication modalities, but it's not telehealth in the sense that we have dreamed it, envisioned it, where we actually get patient data, we get prescribing medication, we close all of the open gaps of healthcare for everybody on the planet. The challenge of equity, access, cost, quality are the things that have turned my hair silver and my hairline receding. And yet there's an era of digital natives, young, bright professionals who have new visions. And I think UNCAP said it well. If everyone had access to all the knowledge and information that we had, this can catalyze solutions. So we have a big challenge. I created it or described it in Rome last year as a grand challenge for our clinical engineering community, which is to bring together all the best practices and standards and stop this nonsense of Apple Watch or Fitbit or which operating system. We don't care. We want connected people, physicians, caregivers. We want solutions, results that are sustainable. And this is the era for that to happen. This is the opportunity for that to happen. And this is a project that Pedro Galvin and I took on. Many of the people who were on as participants on this webinar were part of the early discussions early this year about creating this grand challenge activity. We got sidetracked by something called coronavirus, and we will return to this as soon as we can turn our attention and energy to this, because it is a massive opportunity for all of humanity, and we owe it to ourselves, our children, our communities all around the planet to solve this. Thanks.
So Jatinder, so you guys are implementing. How'd you do that in the face of all the regulatory challenges and beyond?
So in two pathways, and I guess in your question, you mean the challenges around teleconsultation, but not teleprescription. Am I right?
Right, the things that UNCAP was talking about. Yep.
Yeah, so one is at least over-the-counter drugs can be prescribed. So that was a shortcut because it's the non-over-the-counter drugs that can't be prescribed. And you can start with prescribing or allowing prescription of over-the-counter drugs. Two is bringing out a telemedicine bill, which recently became an act, which allows. And what UNCAP is actually saying is, we discuss about the problems. Why don't we have the time to discuss about the solutions? Because it's actually the solutions that help. And today, you know that WHO has the 3 billion goals. And there are large number of telehealth solutions globally that have at least touched 1 million lives. Even if we were to start with those solutions that have touched or crossed 1 million lives, we would have at least 50 of them on the table. And these are solutions that are not by fly-by-night operators, but are scalable solutions that have sustained through the challenges. So number one are documenting those telehealth solutions that have touched at least 1 million lives. And we would know because 1 million lives is not small, or 1 million patient encounters is not small. And these are solutions that have passed through the credibility and the test of time. Two, the model standards for data and metadata so that systems that are evolving and have not yet adopted can have a base paper to start from. Because when India started the data and metadata standards, everybody starts from a compilation, and then you have this difficult problem of what to take and what not to take. So base paper on data and metadata standards, because everybody is going to hit this wall sooner or later. And three, every telehealth solutions comes like a happy birthday cake. You put 2 extra cherries, it becomes a different cake. You put an extra ribbon, it becomes a different cake. But what are those bare minimum features, demographics, facilities, technicalities that you need in a telehealth solution? Because sometimes what happens is the supply factors tend to make better become enemy of the good. And therefore, the demand systems, the hospitals really struggle, as we struggle in multiple of programs of ours, to decide what is it that we can start with bare minimum. Because telehealth is also about growing with time. And therefore, if we could have these 3 things, archiving systems that have touched 1 million lives, having a base document on what could be a reasonable data and metadata standards, standards of interoperability, standards of evolution, and 3, what are those bare minimum things that every telehealth solutions can start with, so that everyone can start with something and then learn from each other and grow with time. I think these 3 things would be very encouraging endeavors towards encouraging those brothers and sisters and those systems that have not yet started, or those who have made a start but not moved forward much due to challenges, cope up with the emerging needs.
Thank you, Jatender. Pedro and Adrian.
Thanks, Tom. I only will to say all the people and UNCAP in especially that we have to think how we can use as engineers, as clinical engineers, our knowledge to make a creative use of all the technologies we have today in the world. In this case, we can only share our experience that we have made a revolution regarding telehealth in my country, Paraguay. It's a very little country, but we use, and you can say today that all the stakeholders, that means politicians at the parliament, the Minister of Health, and all the people today use telehealth and telemedicine face to face the pandemic, and we save works for the physicians who can't attend the patients because because of the isolation of the people, only COVID patients were admitted in the hospitals. And we have a telehealth law, we have a resolution of the Ministry of Health where we can use all the tools approved through the Ministry of Health to attend all the people and to prescribe medicaments. And that means that is the biggest maybe experience we have made in the south part of South America, and we can share our knowledge through an alliance. Also, we are there with Elliot and Tom organizing telehealth webinars, and maybe we can spread this experience to all the other people who needs this kind of experience and to build a very strong and sustainable telehealth system in the world. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Pedro. Adrian, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. As engineers, always want to use the newest technology, but we have to observe legal issues, understand the point of view of the physicians and the need of the patients. And as I always said, we have to make multidisciplinary answers. That's all. Thank you.
Martin, I know you wanted to share.
Yeah, I have a lot. I don't know where to start.
Release the screen. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think the big question, the big answer for me is, I think something that Junkap and Elliot spoke about, and this is how do you generate this innovation? And I think if you look at like Star Trek, the Borg, you know, by connecting everybody together and sharing information, you can, if you know all the answers, the solutions are easy. The challenge, and I think I've come from a privileged position being in telemetry in corporate, where a lot of these problems that I see have already been solved. We have vehicle tracking companies in South Africa that compete for a small market, and they have optimized the way they monitor vehicles, for example. We have online delivery companies like Amazon, and they can move stock from one place to another for a minimal amount of money. Yet in South Africa, we can't get HIV drugs from a facility to a patient cost effectively. So I think instead of looking internally, we need to start looking at what has been done externally in solving some of these problems. You know, telehealth for me is you know, incredibly similar to how security has been done in banks, where you have video cameras, and video cameras are now connected via mobile technology to centralized platforms, and it's done optimally. The trick is trying to find those answers, because they aren't published in papers, because these are competitive advantages, you know, between competing companies. So you need internal spies to come out and tell how these things are being solved. And I think that way, and you know, just looking at a broader picture, how are queues managed in banks and in shopping centers? Why can't we implement queue management in clinics, for example? How does Google extract information out of us so surreptitiously and so elegantly without us even knowing? Yet we have to have surveys and we have to have medical doctors sitting trying to extract information out of patients. So I think there's a lot of knowledge out there that us as engineers, need to start bringing into this team. I can carry on, but I think that's it for me.
Well, folks, it's been 2 hours and this has been incredible. Certainly the YouTube, you know, segmented are going to come out of the recording from this program. We're going to share the Q&A and some of the responses, you know, afterwards. We're going to share the chat, key parts of that. We'll share references that we haven't shared before. So thank you for your time, and I'm afraid that's all the time we have today. We probably will do a follow-up program. We did one on regulation a couple of weeks ago, and we plan to do a follow-up webinar, seeing if we learned anything, if we've implemented anything, maybe in the first quarter next year. I think we'd like to do the same with this program. You know, we're going to go back and get to work and share as much as we can, but we've got to come back together and see if we're making a difference here in a few months, also maybe in the first quarter next year. I thank everybody for their time.
Congratulations and thanks for all the speakers. Excellent job.
Unbelievable job.
Congratulations, Tom, on all the speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank
Absolutely.
IFMB, CE.
Happy
Thank you all.
birthday, Luis.
Thanks.
Well done, all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Have a good day.